Welcome to the Teamslink 2021 review and update session. I'm joined by Mike Korkidakis as usual. The double act. We've been working on Teamslink, well, for the whole of 2021 plus most of 2020 actually, remotely. So it's probably a good time to just take a breath and look back at how the product's developed over the last, particularly the last 12 months, both with Microsoft Teams and with Teamslink itself.
Our focus is around cloud services, primarily helping customers around security, productivity, and what we call agility, so moving services into the cloud.
Hi, thanks for joining us. You're listening to Straight Talking 365 with Mark, Lawton and guests.
Yeah, and my history with Teamslink and Wavenet goes back probably almost 10 years now, for the time when I was at Microsoft and met an organization called Via, who Wavenet subsequently bought. So safe to say that Mike and Wavenet have been involved in Microsoft Unified Comms for as long as anyone in the industry. So hence the reason why Risk decided a couple of years ago to A, use Teamslink internally, and B, to use the product to help our customers deploy flexible working. Okay, so welcome to this podcast, which is an update on Teamslink for 2021. So I'm really pleased to be joined by Mike Korkidakis from Wavenet. So I'll let Mike introduce himself.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. So, hi everybody. Nice to speak to you today. My name is Mike Korkidakis, and I'm the head of distribution at Wavenet. So, my role is working with key distributing partners like Risk in taking our in particular our Teamslink product to market. So, yeah, thanks for having me today, Mark.
If you don't mind, Mike, just want to give us a bit of an update on.
Yeah, sure, Mark. Yeah, happy to do that. So, yeah, obviously we've seen the Teamslink product come. Well, yeah, quite a long way, really. And like you said, it's been a key focus throughout sort of 2020 and 2021. In particular, obviously, I think the pandemic sort of accelerated people's, requirements in terms of what remote working and hybrid working actually look like. So we've had a really big focus on kind of reviewing the product and taking a look at what sort of key features were going to be used for these organizations to actually, enhance the capabilities that Teamslink had. So, as traditionally the product is that true native Teams experience. So all the nice developments that Microsoft have done, that I'm sure we'll touch on later on, just work in conjunction with some of the things that we've done. So, so some of the, I guess the key highlights would be, we've put a lot of time and effort, into things like the Power BI reporting, all delivered over a live API. So you're getting a lot of real-time information that's delivered into the product now, and that's available to all the customers. I think we have at the moment sort of 20 live templates that we've developed that come alongside the product that can be delivered in real time and just have a lot of key information that so many customers would like to see. We've added in some big partnerships as well. So we've opened up a partnership with the likes of Dubber, the likes of Puzzle, and then our own sort of inbound product as well. All of these things that we're integrating or overlaying into the Teamslink product, which has brought a lot of different things. So things like, your inbound geographical routing, which is like a really, nice addition to the product. So the availability to actually, route call traffic by geographies, which is a big one. Looking at some of the reporting functionality, things like sentiment analysis. And then we have an overarching sort of theme in general of the information that you can extract from the product. So the custom dashboards, as an example, that exists throughout sort of, the Dubber and the call recording platform. So taking, analytics from sentiment analysis and pulling that into Power BI and custom dashboards that also tie in with the information that we're providing. So I think a really overarching theme is certainly the information that you can extract from the system and customize through, obviously, Microsoft's Power BI product. Things like live in-call transcriptions. So obviously Teams does that as a core product, but not on the recording side of things. Typically, call transcriptions are done after the fact. We can actually do that, live in call. We've taken a big look at some of the payment options as well. Previously all we had was the ability to do things like manual pause and resume in the contact center. But because we're opening up the sort of entire contact center world, we have things like hyperlink access, payment options through the Teams screens, as well as obviously a little bit more automation on some of the PCI compliance pieces as well, which is really, really big. Some interesting features as well, things like Call Whisper is one. A sought after feature that we've added in through our inbound platform as well is post call surveys. So we have the ability to do things like post call surveys and rating the instance and those sorts of things. That stuff exists as well. And a really big one is we've always had sort of that 5.9 omni-channel contact center integration, but we've expanded that with our Puzzle partnership as well. And that's opening up that sort of true omni-channel contact center, across your social platforms, your chat functionality, your SMS, your text. And now that's all interconnected with our Teamslink platform as well, allowing, the product to be really, really scalable from, almost any size organization now, because we do have those organizations that might have those true contact centers that, agents need to work from those dashboards, maybe have, really in-depth CRM integration, interaction through all the different social platforms. And, we're pulling that into, that integration with those types of users with Teams users in the back end. So those are some of the sort of key highlights, but hopefully that paints a good picture for you, Mark.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant, Mike. Thanks. I think as I've always said all the way through, and we use that as a bit of a tagline, don't we? That Teamslink is a great product made better. I think. Yeah. Yes, that sounds good. And obviously, to deliver the solution to the end customer, we rely on two parts of the puzzle really, which is Teams itself, and then obviously Teamslink, and the Teamslink product, has always filled in a lot of the gaps that have existed and still do exist really in Teams itself. And most of Microsoft's developments last year, so 2020 when the pandemic hit, were all about helping people work from home. I think if you see the developments within the Teams meeting client itself, and we started at a 2x2 video feed, and now we've got a 7x7 video feed, and that's where a lot of their effort was focused. Less so the calling. So there were some calling features within Teams that didn't exist, even though something like 3 years ago they said Teams was feature comparative with Skype for Business. There were still some gaps. Safe to say now, where we're looking at the end of 2021, I think pretty much all of those gaps have been filled now. So all of the features that most of our customers or all of our customers need to have a full PBX replacement are there within both Teams as the client and Teamslink as the service itself. So little things like being able to do things like call merge, have multiple calling windows, and the whole new calling experience that's built into Teams itself. So yes, we rely on the evolution of Teams on one hand, and again, I think all of the evolution going forward you'll see from Microsoft will be about that meeting experience. So clever things like these intelligent speakers in meeting rooms, so it can identify who's speaking within a meeting room. So to be able to bring people that are physically back in the office, and that's what we're seeing with a lot of our customers now, is they've still got people working from home, but they're getting people back into the office now, and they want to be able to really integrate those meetings into something that kind of is inclusive for everyone. And I think you kind of skip straight to some of the new features that we've seen this year. I think just for those who've maybe not seen Teamslink in any depth before, I always talk about Teamslink as being a complete unified communications platform in its own right, and I think that's how it differentiates from Microsoft themselves, because obviously they can offer calling plans, and more so the other direct routing partners, the likes of BT and Gamma, which effectively give you a telephone number. So the resilience and disaster recovery that we have, the number management and number porting, the contact center, the basic contact center bolt-on that we can offer to customers, as well as then for those that want the more sophisticated and complex omni-channel type environment that can be delivered by Puzzle now. We've got a complete solution. And along with some of the hardware, as I say, best of both worlds. We've got Microsoft developing the Teams client as fast as they can. You've got their hardware partners like the likes of Yealink and Poly, who are developing the hardware again as fast as they can. And then obviously we've got Wavenet developing the Teamslink product and adding some of these great features onto it.
I was going to say, Mark, one of the things that you sort of commented on as well is, there's a lot of focus from Microsoft at the moment on that sort of immersive Teams room experience. We've seen some of the recent sort of launches of things like, front row and the multiple screen scenario that you can do by using things like, the front row edition, and that hybrid working mentality is being really accelerated through Teams. And that's what I said at the beginning. The nice thing about the product is all those developments that Microsoft are doing work in conjunction with what we're doing. So we're taking what they're doing and we're enhancing that on the telephony side and making it more sort of widespread for the customers that would have those sorts of requirements.
And I mean, we've obviously seen through this year and in 2020, lots of customers sort of embracing flexible working and putting their voice into Teams with Teamslink. I mean, I've got a few ideas in my head. I mean, what do you still see as barriers for stopping customers moving from legacy telephony into things like Teamslink?
Well, I think it's a tough one now, because I think obviously we saw this entire model of remote working was kind of forced upon people in obviously the recent sort of past 2 years, and with that came a lot of immediate challenges for organizations. And I think right now it's just obviously the education piece and the migration story and just being able to sort of trust what they're actually getting from those solutions, and that's why we've put some of the focus on some of the things I did mention, like statistics and some of the reporting and things that you can actually pull out of the system. Traditionally, I think the mentality is that these types of organizations needed to have these people in the office to monitor this stuff and to do those things, but that's the technology that we're able to deliver now does change that, really. And I think that would probably be one of the biggest barriers is a lack of information. I think a lot of people kind of have concerns about maybe they can't extract what they need if someone's not in front of them. And I think that's kind of challenge number one, is just getting them educated enough and understanding it enough that they have that comfort. And then obviously you do have the general concerns of things like security or those sorts of things if people aren't in an office and on a company network, so to say. That would probably be challenge number two, and all of which is easily overcome now.
Yeah, I think I mean, we still do get sort of feedback and resistance initially from customers, particularly I guess those users that are more traditional, shall I say. And we've got a few within Risk as well who are quite happy to put their hands up and say they still like using handsets and things like that. Just to the move towards using PC and a headset, for example. I know you don't have to, you can still use a physical handset if you want, but generally most customers will take the opportunity to refresh what they've got and go with the headset. And we've just moved the local solicitors actually, and they were very negative about headsets, but their sort of IT team just went ahead anyway and ordered the headsets, and they haven't looked back. We haven't had anybody complain, and they walk around with the headsets on like it's second nature. So I think a lot of the resistance is perception rather than reality, to be honest. And I think once they've moved to something like Teams, they can just realise how flexible and easy to manage it is. They've got no hardware on site that they need to worry about or look after. They've got no worry about have we got enough lines in and out to take all the calls at peak times. It's a complete perception shift. They don't need to worry about that or think about that anymore. They'll only get engaged. A customer will only get engaged if they're on the phone, if that makes sense. So, and the ability for us to change these services on the fly through the admin center, again, I think they're just so taken aback by how easy it is to do that. To add recordings in, to change the call routing instantly through a friendly admin center. I think that is eye-opening to them. I haven't come across a customer yet that we've not been able to fulfill everything that they currently do with a traditional phone system within Teamslink. In fact, I haven't come across a customer where we've not completely transformed how they work. And I would say that, wouldn't I? But again, we've got plenty of customers that are happy to chat to anybody to tell them how they're done, all the way back from looking back again to 2020, March 2020, and Alzheimer's research, that we were our first sort of big Teamslink customer that moved about 2 days before lockdown hit, through to those customers that we're still in the process of moving across completely to Teamslink. They would all extol the benefits. And I think just thinking about, obviously there we were talking about barriers, but also in terms of the ease of adoption, which is obviously on the plus side, is most of the customers we talk to and most of the customers that come on our webinars are already using Teams. So to actually add a telephone number into that Teams client and just enhance how they work makes the learning curve, the user adoption, really, really easy. And I think that's the biggest eye opener for most customers.
That's absolutely agree there. The amount of organisations now, I guess looking back on sort of the history and like the history of even our relationship, Mark, is obviously Wavenet acquired the organisation I used to work for, which was Via, whose sort of singular expertise was in that sort of Microsoft telephony arena. And, there were times where it was kind of previously, like the Link product or the Skype for Business product, where, not every organization was using those things. So it was sort of positioning the benefits of that product and then obviously look into sort of the telephony and the additional benefits that added now. But now you're absolutely right. Most of the conversations start with, are you using Teams? And so many are. They're using it already for their internal collaborations, for their meetings, and this is just the next logical step for them. And going back to your original question as well about some of the barriers, it's just letting them know that organizations like us and the focus on direct routing are taking any gaps or things that they feel they might not get from Microsoft Business Voice directly, and Microsoft promote partners like us and the channel to fill those gaps for them. That whole tagline of a great product made better couldn't be more true when it comes to sort of the Teamslink product and the direct routing product that we work on together.
I mean, given that, looking at the Microsoft roadmap, which we do a lot, as I say, there aren't many features that we're waiting to be delivered into Teams that we rely on. That Teams itself will continue developing, and as I say, most of it is around meeting room enhancements with things like multiple screens and these intelligent speakers and new devices and things like Teams room panels where you have your the agenda for the day outside the room and you can book free time. So these kind of innovative pieces of hardware, and also things like the ability to join third-party meetings like Zoom and WebEx is there in some devices but not others. So obviously the Microsoft roadmap is there and anybody can look at that. In terms of, I guess, from your point of view, from Mike's point of view and Wavenet's point of view, what do you see the future like, and how do you see the Teamslink product evolving? That's a great question, and there's a lot of focus coming in. Obviously, the next few months to sort of our further term roadmap. In the initial instance, it's very much continuing the focus on building the core infrastructure for scalability and redundancy. That's absolutely vital to our organisation and to the product. We have all the existing tier one carriers built into our infrastructure to help with resiliency. If things do fail, it rolls over to other providers. There's still a huge focus on continuing to develop that, and that's of course across all our sort of data centers and sites. That's not just UK centric. We do obviously offer an international presence there, so that focus goes and extends beyond just the UK and those sort of carrier relationships in the other locations, and the redundancy of the infrastructure. That's always going to be probably one of the most paramount priorities. Alongside that, all the integrations with these new suppliers, we want to continue to bring that into our our admin center, and our management portal is one of the big key selling points to the product.
it's ease of use for any of those users. And we want to make sure that all these partnerships that we form have the same capabilities in that management portal, that you can, make changes on the fly and not have to have all the sort of the human interaction piece if it's not needed. We do have a big focus on the automation where needed to make sure that you can control all that stuff at end customer level yourself, so you have the confidence to be able to do that. Like I said, the redundancy piece, the management portal, and kind of getting that overhaul, and then continuing to look at sort of what features we need to focus on. We've added a heck of a lot in this year and some of the things we've just covered off, but there's always changes that are needed. We have live feature requests that we're constantly looking at, constantly developing, the CRM integrations, and of course, the live APIs for reportings and those sorts of things will continue to be at the forefront of development. Absolutely.
Yeah, again, I kind of didn't really touch on the reporting, but I know you talked about the Power BI reporting, and again, that's made a massive difference to a lot of our customers, and it's something that's not easy to do out of the box with Microsoft. And I did talk about the fact that that Teamslink is a standalone UC platform, and that is important from a resilience and disaster recovery point of view, because one of the objections that I do get occasionally is, well, it's reliant on Teams, isn't it? What happens if Teams goes down? That's a good point. I think, fortunately, it doesn't happen very often. Teams is part of Office 365. Office 365 is the biggest platform in the world for collaboration. It doesn't happen very often, but if it does, we have a disaster recovery plan in place for all of our customers that allows calls to be at least routed out externally to another number or a mobile or a third-party answering service or voicemail. As I say, it doesn't happen very often. Once in the last 2 years, probably. But
yeah,
touch wood, he says. So I think from that point of view, we just see it upside. I mean, I did partly think with the sort of impending return to the office for lots of organisations, at least planning for people to be back in the office part-time, we'd see a drop-off of interest in sort of unifying comms and flexible working. It seems to be the opposite, to be honest. And I think part of that is these not everybody is going to be in one place anymore. So even those organisations where they had 100% of their people in the office every day, I don't think we'll ever go back to that. I think looking at all of the feedback through the sort of HR publications and in the news around what big organisations like Nationwide, like Apple themselves, and like British Airways, etc., are doing there, offering that flexible working in the future as well. So I think we'll see more and more organisations wanting to adopt it. We'll see obviously BT themselves in the UK, the traditional phone network will be switched off at the end of 2025. So if you're an organisation that's currently relying on legacy phone lines, then you'll certainly have to do something. Not necessarily Teams, but if you're already using Office 365 and Teams, then certainly worth looking at using that as your voice platform and enabling that with something like Teamslink. On that note, saying Mike and I don't talk too much, I think that's probably enough for today.
That was beautiful.
Is that all right? It's a thing of beauty. It will be when Jamie's finished with it anyway.
Our focus is around cloud services, primarily helping customers around security, productivity, and what we call agility. So moving services into the cloud.
Thanks for joining us. You're listening to Straight Talking 365 with Mark Lawton and guests.